The planet of Violia had been a war zone for months. Its skies were streaked with black smoke, and cities that once gleamed with alien architecture now lay in ruins. The uprising had begun suddenly, a rebellion fueled by resentment against the ruling caste. At the heart of it all lay Queen Lithara, the leader of the Violian people, whose strength and wisdom had guided her species through centuries of prosperity. But now, she lay gravely wounded, her body paralyzed from the waist down, and her life hung by a fragile thread. The palace, once a beacon of elegance, was now a fortress under siege. Every attempt by the Violian medics to treat the queen had ended in frustration. Her injuries were complex and unprecedented. Broken bones intertwined with damaged nerves and failing internal organs made her condition seem hopeless. One after another, the medics stepped back, shaking their heads. Some whispered that saving her was impossible. Others muttered that her life was no longer worth the risk. The rebellion had spread beyond control, and no one wanted to get caught in the crossfire. Amidst the chaos, Captain Alex Harper, a human medic assigned to the peacekeeping mission, arrived. He was tall, lean, with eyes that held a quiet determination. He had heard the rumors that the Queen was beyond saving, that even the most skilled medics had failed, but he refused to be intimidated. To Alex, every life mattered, no matter the species, and giving up was not an option. When Alex entered the heavily guarded medical chamber, he found Queen Lithara lying on a reinforced bed of alien metal, her chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. Her once glorious armor lay torn, the insignia of her royal rank barely visible beneath dirt and blood. The queen's eyes, sharp and calculating even in pain, narrowed as she saw him approach. "You are human," she said, her voice strained. "Why do you come here? Others have abandoned me." Alex knelt beside her, his hands steady. "Because no one should face death alone," he replied simply. "I am here to help." For a moment, silence filled the room. The queen's expression was unreadable, a mixture of suspicion and faint curiosity. Most humans, she had been taught, were weak and short-sighted. Yet here was one who entered without fear, who treated her as a person rather than a political symbol. Alex began his assessment. Using a combination of human medical techniques and alien scanning devices, he mapped her injuries. The results confirmed the grim reality: fractures in her pelvis, extensive nerve damage along her spine, and internal injuries that had caused severe blood loss. If he moved too quickly, he could make things worse. But doing nothing was certain death. He adjusted his approach. Carefully, he stabilized her fractures with improvised braces made from alien alloys and flexible polymers. He inserted micro-stabilizers into her spinal region to prevent further nerve collapse. Each procedure required precision, patience, and innovation. He found ways to adapt alien tech to human methods, a blend of creativity and urgency that no one else had attempted. As Alex worked, the Queen studied him. There was something different about this human, a refusal to yield, a quiet confidence paired with unwavering care. Slowly, the walls of distrust around her mind began to crumble. She realized that while the other medics had walked away, this human was risking his life for her. Days passed in a blur of tension and careful medical work. Outside the palace, rebel forces grew bolder, pushing closer with each passing hour. Alex's team of human medics coordinated with Violian aides to create a secure perimeter, but the threat was ever present. During these long hours, Alex spoke to the Queen, not as a patient or a ruler, but as a person. "Do you remember the lakes of Nyerlia?" he asked one evening, scanning her vitals. The Queen blinked. "Yes," she whispered, a faint smile breaking through her pain. "I have not thought of them in decades," Alex nodded. "We all need something to hold on to, memories, hope, they keep us going." A flicker of respect passed in her eyes. The Queen realized that this human not only understood medicine but also understood the essence of life, the intangible threads that made survival worth fighting for. Then the attack came. Rebel forces, sensing the Queen's vulnerability, struck at the palace's medical wing. Explosions shook the walls, and alarms blared as fire and smoke filled the corridors. Panic surged among the aides and remaining medics, but Alex did not hesitate. He secured the Queen, shielding her with his own body as debris fell around them. His team followed his lead, forming a human-alien chain to move her to a safer location. Amid the chaos, Alex's ingenuity was tested like never before. Elevators were out of commission, stairways blocked, and fire spreading rapidly. Using his knowledge of the palace's structural schematics, he found an alternate route through maintenance tunnels. He rigged emergency harnesses to transport the Queen safely, keeping her stable despite the jarring movement. Every step was a gamble, every second critical, but Alex never wavered. When they finally emerged from the tunnels into a temporary safe zone, the Queen was exhausted but alive. For the first time, she spoke without pain or suspicion clouding her voice. You saved me," she said softly, almost in disbelief. "No one else, no one dared." Alex shook his head, brushing soot from his uniform. "I didn't save you for rewards or praise. I saved you because it was the right thing to do." For the Queen, this simple statement carried weight beyond any political decree. She realized that strength was not just measured in armies or weapons, but in courage, compassion, and unwavering resolve. In the following days, Alex continued his work, helping the Queen adjust to her paraplegia. He designed custom support devices that allowed her to move independently, using alien technology combined with human engineering principles. The Queen, initially frustrated by her limitations, slowly began to trust the process, and more importantly, the human who refused to give up on her. Other alien aides watched in awe. They had dismissed her survival as impossible, yet here was proof that determination and skill could overcome even the most dire circumstances. Some began to question their own beliefs about humans, realizing that courage and ingenuity were not limited by species. One night, after a particularly grueling day of treatment and adjustments, the Queen requested Alex's presence privately. She sat in her support chair, her posture regal despite her injuries. "You have done more than any of my own people," she said quietly. "You have shown me something I had almost forgotten, that life is worth fighting for, and that hope can come from the most unexpected places." Alex looked at her, tired but resolute. "You are alive. That is all that matters. We can work together to make sure you remain that way." The Queen studied him, her eyes reflecting a mix of gratitude, admiration, and a spark of something deeper. An understanding that humans, despite being considered inferior by many, could embody the best of all worlds. Just as she began to speak again, a new threat emerged. Scouts from the rebel faction had tracked the Queen's movement and were advancing toward their safe zone. Panic rippled through the aides, but Alex immediately assessed the situation. Using a combination of human tactical knowledge and alien defensive systems, he coordinated a countermeasure. He organized a defensive perimeter, assigning roles to the aides and directing drones and automated turrets to cover potential breach points. Using his quick thinking, he lured the scouts into a trap that minimized casualties while ensuring the Queen remained protected. The battle was tense but brief, and once again, Alex's courage and strategy proved decisive. When the dust settled, the Queen looked around at her surviving aides and then at Alex. "It seems," she said, her voice steady now, "that I owe my life not just to chance but to a human." Alex smiled, wiping sweat from his brow. "I don't need thanks. I only do what anyone with the ability to help should do." Yet in that moment, the Queen made a silent vow. She would remember this human, not as a medic alone, but as a symbol of hope and courage, proof that humanity could rise above fear, prejudice, and the limitations others imposed. The days ahead would be challenging. The rebellion was far from over, and political tensions within her own court simmered just beneath the surface. But thanks to Alex, Queen Lithara was alive, stabilized, and slowly adapting to her new life. And in doing so, she had glimpsed the extraordinary potential of a human being, courageous, ingenious, and compassionate. As night fell over Violia, Alex sat beside her, monitoring her vitals and planning the next steps in her recovery. He was exhausted, bruised, and covered in soot, but his mind was clear. He had faced danger, uncertainty, and despair, and had come through. And in that quiet moment, he knew that sometimes, being human meant more than just surviving. It meant being the light that others could follow, even in the darkest of times. Outside the safe zone, distant fires burned across the ruined cityscape. But inside, amidst the hum of medical devices and the quiet of shared trust, a bond had formed, between a human and an alien queen, between courage and hope. And though the future was uncertain, one thing was clear. No matter how impossible the task, no matter how dangerous the path, there was always a human willing to try. The days after the attack were tense but full of progress. Queen Lithara remained under Alex's careful watch, her body slowly adjusting to the support devices he had created. The custom mobility systems allowed her to sit upright, move short distances, and regain some independence despite her paraplegia. The Queen's aides, who had once doubted the human medic's abilities, now watched him with awe. They had witnessed him stabilize her, shield her from rebels, and devise ingenious solutions where none seemed possible. Alex never let his guard down. He studied the Queen's vitals day and night, refining his methods. Sometimes he consulted alien medical texts, translating complex concepts into actionable treatments. Other times he relied on instinct, drawing on human knowledge of biology, anatomy, and resilience. Every decision was critical. One wrong move could undo days of progress. Despite her initial distrust, Queen Lithara began to open up. She spoke of her childhood in the royal palace, her early lessons in leadership, and the many battles she had fought to protect her people. Alex listened carefully, occasionally asking questions, gently encouraging her to move when possible. In these conversations, a bond formed, one not built on obligation or power, but on trust, respect, and shared determination. One evening, as a violet sun dipped below the horizon, the Queen asked Alex a question that surprised him. "You have risked your life for me, a ruler of another species. Why?" Alex paused, considering his words. "Because no one should be abandoned," he said simply. "Life is precious, and courage is not limited to your species. I help because it is right, not because I expect anything in return." For the Queen, his answer resonated deeply. She realized that humans, often underestimated by other civilizations, carried a strength that was different but no less powerful than her own species' abilities. Courage, compassion, and ingenuity. These were the qualities that could change outcomes in ways armies and politics could not. The peace in the palace was fragile. Outside, the rebel forces remained active, and the Queen's political rivals saw her paraplegia as an opportunity. Some whispered that a ruler who could no longer walk was weak and unfit to lead. Yet Alex's presence changed the dynamic. With his guidance, the Queen began to regain her authority, not through fear or intimidation, but through demonstration of her enduring strength and resilience. Alex devised a series of training protocols to help the Queen adapt to her condition. Using neural interfaces combined with alien biotech, he enabled partial neural stimulation of her lower limbs. While she could not yet walk, she could feel movement and gradually regain some control. The process was slow and required patience, but Alex never wavered. During one training session, a sudden alarm rang through the palace. Scouts from the rebel faction had been spotted near the outer perimeter. Panic surged among the aides, but Alex acted quickly. Using a combination of tactical knowledge and improvised alien defenses, He devised a strategy that minimized risk while preparing the Queen for a potential evacuation. He moved her into a secure chamber, carefully monitoring her vitals while coordinating defensive maneuvers. Automated turrets were repositioned, drones patrolled key sectors, and human-alien teams formed a protective perimeter. Alex's calm, decisive actions instilled confidence in those around him. Where panic might have ruled, strategy and courage prevailed. The rebel scouts approached, unaware of the trap. Alex and the aides waited silently, hearts pounding. As the scouts entered the designated zone, automated systems activated, cutting off escape routes and neutralizing the threat without direct confrontation. By the time the danger passed, the Queen's safety was assured, and the palace remained intact. For the Queen, witnessing Alex's abilities firsthand was transformative. She had expected humans to be fragile and short-sighted, but here was proof that their courage and intellect could rival any alien strength. Her perspective shifted. She began to see humanity as a species capable of remarkable resilience and innovation. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing day, the Queen grew stronger. Alex introduced advanced alien rehabilitation devices, integrating human understanding of physiology to maximize results. The Queen's aides, initially skeptical, marveled at the progress. Rumors of the human medic's skills began to spread throughout the palace, earning him quiet respect from even the most cynical of Virelians. One afternoon, as Alex adjusted the Queen's mobility harness, she spoke thoughtfully. "You have not only healed my body, but also reminded me of what it means to lead," she said. "I once thought my strength came from my species, power, and lineage. Now I see that true strength lies in courage, determination, and the willingness to act when others hesitate." Alex smiled, his hands steady as he worked. Every leader needs support. Sometimes the greatest strength comes from those who walk beside you, even when the path is uncertain. Their connection deepened, built on mutual respect rather than duty. The Queen began to rely on Alex not just for medical expertise, but for advice, strategy, and guidance. He became a symbol of hope for her court, a living testament to the potential of humanity. Then came a test that would challenge both of them. A faction within the Queen's own court, resentful of her survival and wary of human influence, attempted a coup. They believed that a paraplegic ruler could be easily overthrown, and that removing her would allow them to seize power. Alex acted swiftly. He coordinated security teams, reinforced the Queen's position, and devised non-lethal deterrents to neutralize the traitors. When the conspirators confronted her, expecting weakness, they were met with a calculated response that showcased both the Queen's regained authority and Alex's strategic brilliance. The coup was foiled, and the Queen's leadership solidified. She realized that her survival, and her ability to continue ruling, was as much a result of human ingenuity as it was of her own resilience. For the first time, she publicly acknowledged that Alex's courage had saved not only her life, but also the stability of her kingdom. In a ceremonial hall filled with aides, dignitaries, and surviving members of the royal guard, the Queen addressed the assembly. "Today, we celebrate more than the survival of a ruler," she said. "We celebrate the courage of a human who refused to turn away when all others did. Captain Alex Harper has shown us that determination, compassion, and ingenuity know no bounds. He has reminded us of the value of life and the strength that can arise when we act with courage." The assembly erupted in applause, some hesitant at first, but soon genuine in recognition of the human's remarkable actions. Alex, standing beside the Queen, remained humble. He accepted the acknowledgement with quiet dignity, knowing that the reward he sought had never been fame or power. It was the opportunity to make a difference when it mattered most. The Queen then presented Alex with a unique honor: access to alien technology, the title of royal advisor, and privileges reserved for those who had performed extraordinary service. These rewards, though significant, were secondary to the deeper recognition of trust and respect he had earned. The Queen personally expressed her gratitude, emphasizing that Alex's actions had changed her perception of humanity forever. Over the following months, the palace slowly returned to normal. The Queen adapted fully to her paraplegia, guided by Alex's continued support. She resumed her duties with renewed vigor, demonstrating that her disability did not define her strength or leadership. Under her guidance, aided by Alex's counsel, the kingdom rebuilt itself, stronger and more united than before. Alex's role expanded beyond medicine. He advised on strategy, diplomacy, and technological integration, earning the respect of Virelian leaders who had once doubted him. His human perspective brought innovation and adaptability, qualities that complemented the Queen's leadership. Together, they formed a partnership that bridged species, proving that cooperation could overcome even the most daunting challenges. Through it all, Alex remained humble. He never sought recognition or reward, focusing instead on the well-being of those he served. His courage, resourcefulness, and empathy inspired others, showing that humanity's potential could shine brightly, even in a world far from Earth. In time, stories of the human medic who saved the paraplegic alien queen spread across Virelia. Children whispered about him in schools, soldiers shared his exploits in barracks, and diplomats recounted his deeds in council chambers. He became a symbol of hope, courage, and the extraordinary potential of humans to rise above fear, prejudice, and adversity. Queen Lithara often reflected on those first days after her injury. She remembered the fear, the uncertainty, and the despair that had surrounded her. But most of all, she remembered the human who refused to give up, who risked everything to save a life that others had deemed worthless. That memory became a cornerstone of her leadership, a constant reminder that true strength is measured not just by power or rank, but by courage, compassion, and the willingness to act when it matters most. As the sun rose over the rebuilt palace, casting golden light across the city, Alex and the Queen stood side by side on a balcony overlooking the capital. For a moment, they simply watched the world awaken, the hum of activity a testament to survival, resilience, and hope. Alex placed a hand on the Queen's shoulder, steady and reassuring. "We've come a long way," he said. Lithara nodded, a smile in her eyes despite the challenges she had endured. "Thanks to you, humanity has earned my trust and my respect. You have shown me what courage truly means." Alex simply smiled, knowing that he had done what he had set out to do. He had saved a life, preserved a kingdom, and reminded an entire species that humanity was capable of greatness beyond imagination. And as the city below buzzed with renewed life, one truth remained clear. Sometimes, it takes one human willing to act when all others hesitate to change the course of history. The bond between human and alien, healer and queen, would be remembered for generations. A story of courage, compassion, and the extraordinary potential of humanity to rise above fear and doubt.